If you've ever had questions on how to use washes, glazes, or filters, don't miss this video.
Spiky bits.
Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. I'm Baer, and today we're going to show you a bunch of different ways to both use washes, glazes, and filters, what they mean in regards to each other. Probably mix up our words at least once or twice, but in the end, show you how to make filters and glazes from existing washes that I think we use Army Painter, and we will be using the Citadel, both gloss and non-gloss versions of the wash today. So washes can do a lot of work for you if you let them. You just got to either cut them or use them at full strength in different combinations to produce different effects. It can be quite astounding once you see them in action. So let's jump right over to the paint table and get started. For my money, there isn't any better wash on the market than Citadel and Army Painter's Quick Shade. They are amazing to work with, readily available at both stores, except for the Games Workshop one's about $8 because of this new larger design here, but the Army Painter one is about $3, but a little bit harder to find. So you got that going for you in both instances. They're both pretty much the same. Dark tone is Null and Oil, and then it kind of goes from there, but you can compare them up. It's super easy. Anyways, these are the best out there as far as it goes. Now there is some non-gloss from Games Workshop as well. You've got the regular versions. I think there's only 3 or 4 that are actually gloss. The rest of them are just normal, the normal shades. They don't come in these pots anymore. This is the older $4 pot, but be aware of that as well. We're going to cover how to use both, or at least how I use both, in this tutorial. So now that you know the best type of washes on the market, I'm going to show you how to use them on your miniatures and a couple of different ways to use each. One of the ways to use just your normal wash without the gloss is to first coat your miniature with a gloss or a semi-gloss overcoat. This is Model Masters. This is pretty readily available at most Hobby Town and or Hobby Lobby stores here in America. They are smaller cans. You can see they fit in my hand. They're about $6 to $7. But the good news is that they work in a lot of weather conditions where the other conventional sprays would not. So you can use these in hot humidity, like where I live in the South, and they work great. You don't have to worry about anything at all. So if you're just going to use a normal wash here, you might want to consider hosing down your miniature with gloss first. Well, not hosing it down, using normal priming techniques first with this, and then apply your shade over it. Conversely, you can cut this, and we're going to show you how to do that as well here in a second, but that's something to be aware of. Now, if you have availability of an airbrush, well, that's a great way to load some gloss varnish through and just spray it and not have to work with any rattle cans or worrying about any of your models crazing up depending on where you live or the atmospheric conditions, etc. Another way to use these products is to use the gloss. Like I said, there's only I think 3 or 4 different glosses. I pretty much just use Agrax and Null and Oil gloss. I think there is actually a flesh shade. Nope, there's a sepia and a flesh. No, there is not a sepia. There's the flesh. Reeklin flesh shade gloss right there. I use that on a lot of different things as well. Great stuff. So this is usable out of the pot, and if you cut it with a little bit of flow improver as well, which we're about to show you. And then of course there is the Army Painter. These are great in a variety of different ways. They make a specific quick shade washing medium for their product, which you can see right here. Again, it's an additional purchase. It's about the same price, $3, and you can use this to mix it up and cut it and make it thinner. It is a little bit goopy. It's more of like kind of a matte medium almost to use, so just be aware of that, and it does get a little cloudy. Conversely, you can also use the Airbrush Flow Improver, which we're about to show you exactly how to use that. This is pretty much my hobby catch-up. and I use it in everything to keep my paints thinner on the palette and also to cut down my washes to make them work the way I want. Now we're gonna apply a couple of these different techniques to a miniature right now to show you a couple of different ways to use them and how to get those desired effects. So generally when people talk about washes, a lot of times what I think they're imagining will happen is they just they take this brush and they wave this magic brush all over their miniature, and it gets in all the nooks and crannies and doesn't leave any thing behind, any residue or any color behind on the top of the surface. And for the most part, that is correct and that works great. So this is kind of what I imagine people want to happen with their miniatures. They put down a base coat and then they wave the magic wand and all the cracks and everything are filled in on the miniature. Like you can see right here, it looks great. There's definitely a transition and a definition, and it stayed right in there, and there's no touch-ups necessary. Everything's good to go. Well, here's the funny part. That is exactly what I did with this model. I waved my magic wand all over it. By magic wand, I mean my paintbrush, and I got in all the cracks, and it was all good to go, and there was no nasty residue left behind. And that's what we're gonna show you how to accomplish on this video. Now for this particular model right here, we just used the Null Oil gloss and we cut it with that flow improver. Now what's cool about this flow improver is that it is going to give you that time. It's not going to give you as much time to work with, like say, an oil paint, but it is inherently a drying retarder. So all we did was we just took a big fat brush and worked it in section by section. It took about 3 minutes to get all the way around, hit up all our glit glops and everything and all our Klingons and pulled all the pools off. But then we started looking at it, and anywhere it had started to dry or maybe streaked a little bit, we just had enough time because it was drying still to just kind of pull it, and it was all good to go. And then we just did a little light edge highlighting and came in here and touched it up with the black, and we'll do a little of the racing stripes here on this particular miniature, and it'll be all good to go. So with that in mind, now I'm going to show you how to make the magic happen. Enter our Death Core of Kriegsmen right here. This little guy has been completely base coated. You probably saw a similar one. This is his twin from a previous video where we showed you talking about grays and such. And I thought it would be, while I was recording, I was like, hey, I could do a whole nother video on the different ways to do washes and glazes and filters and all sorts of things. So boom, that's what we're gonna do right here. So you wanna get your miniature to the point where it's base coated and everything's good to go. Don't worry about highlighting quite yet. This actually was airbrush, so it has a little bit of an airbrush highlight to it, but no big deal. You don't have to do that. Then what you're gonna do is a couple of different things. Unfortunately, with this model, we can show you several different techniques to use. So we're gonna grab some of our Null Oil gloss, and we're gonna dump it into our little water bottle lid / paint palette right there. That's probably a little too much. You need to go that crazy with the cheese whiz. And that's probably good enough right there. And then we're gonna take our airbrush flow improver and we're gonna go about 3 parts because we want to cut this, even though it is gloss. If it wasn't gloss, we'd probably have to go 4 parts to 1 part. But since it's gloss, we're probably good to go. So we're gonna thin this down and break up the opacity and make it more translucent, etc., etc. And you can see here, as I pull it, it's still showing a little bit behind, and I think that is pretty good. So we're going to take a nice chisel brush right here, and we're going to coat our miniature starting at the top and working our way down, because that's how gravity works. That's how water flows. Don't ask me how money works. I don't know, but I could tell you how gravity works, how water flows, and we're just going to work it all the way down just like this, making sure to get in all the cracks and the nooks and crannies. And we're going to take a good minute here, make sure we get a nice big solid coat or big solid glob up here at the bottom to kind of help work its way down and make sure we get in all the armpits and everything. We'll be right back with the final coat. So now we finished coating the whole miniature here. You can see done our 360 runway flip to make sure that there's no glit glops or Klingons everywhere. looks like everything is good to go. I'm pretty happy with where we're at here. So normally we would have a lot more miniatures. We'd be working in assembly line fashion. So by the time you got back to this miniature, it'd already be dry and we could start working on it more. However, since this is a single, we have to actually dry it. So I'm going to put it in front of the fan, give it a few minutes, and come on back and show you the next part to making washes work for you. Once your wash is all dry, now it's time to make the magic happen. Now, as you can see here, it doesn't matter if this was flat or all ruffled up, folded closed here. The wash performed admirably here. And again, if you just added more parts of that flow improver, turns out it would get it down to filter status, being very, very, very translucent, and do just what I described earlier to get in all the nooks and crannies and avoid damaging the higher up surfaces. But we're going to talk about another technique here. This was a great start for this piece here, and you can see it started to shade the metal, it started to shade all the brown and everything like that. Now we're going to take it to the next level. I love saying that. And we're just going to go straight out of the pot, Nuln Oil. And the reason we're doing this, you're probably like, wait, what? You just like made it look good. Well, now we're going to do controlled washes over certain areas instead of coming in and picking out details. You can pick out a detail with a wash, believe it or not. So we're just going to come in here and we're going to hit like the belts here, or I guess this is like the suspenders. I don't even know what this is, but I want to show some contrast nonetheless. And we'll go around the whole belt area here as well, and you can see it adheres to the area. It's almost like it all got blocked in, almost coloring by number, painting by number at this point from the first wash, and now we're doing a more controlled wash there around those areas. So we spun it around to the front and did the hose area there and the belt and everything like that, and we're good to go with that. And you can see once it dries, it's wonderful. Like, it has created two different types of shades. Now, I say wash. A thin down wash is a glaze. A thin down glaze is basically a filter. I'm just calling them all washes. They're all washes to me. They're different degrees of washes. Now, they all have technical names, and I'll probably use them interchangeably. So if that confuses anybody, I do apologize. That's just the way I'm going about it. Now, remember when we did that glaze first go around over the whole model, we already kind of pre-shaded this steel here. So what we're going to do is, to create a really cool effect, is come in with some Agrax Earthshade gloss right out of the pot, straight intensity, full on, and just hit this metal area right here and make sure that we get it to catch some around these studs. And because we've already gone in there with the wash, it's already started to pool around these areas, so it makes creating these effects a little bit easier, to be quite honest, I feel. So it's almost like an appetizer. A glaze is an appetizer wash using this technique and allowing you to come back in and kind of combo off some effects. But we're not going to stop there, taking a page out of the Nuln Oils book. We're also going to go straight over top of some areas here, and there's no better shade or wash to do over brown than Agrax Earthshade itself. So of course we're going to hit all these brown areas and really bring out that contrast there that you can see in all of the pants and boots areas here. We'll also hit the face mask to really kind of bring it out. And this is, you know, a very easy way to not, and you know, using washes is easy. Let's just start there. Using washes is secretly easy. But doing all this detail work and all this contrast work with the wash and not having to be as precise as with a paintbrush is going to save you a lot of time when you're nugging out and doing a whole bunch of army troopers, you know, just normal guardsmen, stuff like that, conscripts, cultists, all those sorts of things. These are super time-saving techniques that you can really use to kind of game the system and get your models to that tabletop quality much faster than you would normally do, and you don't even have to really do a whole lot of brushwork here. The only brushwork we did was blocking in those browns, and that's pretty much it. Oh, and the steels. The primer itself was that color right there. We did spritz a little air from the top, little airbrush, but you could easily achieve that same kind of effect with a little bit of dry brushing over the top there. And you know what? I didn't get the desired effect on this hose, so I bet if we hit it with some Agrax, that hose would pop too. Yep, sure did. So I am super, you know what? Let's hit these gloves. Make these gloves darker. What the heck? Why not? Gotta have dark gloves. This guy's an operator. He's getting stuff done. He's actually putting a fire back on the mortar. Getting ready to roll it along, so why not? Let's give him some dark gloves and let it all dry. After you go back and get all your glit glops off and a few minutes of dry time, you're gonna have something like this, a wonderfully shaded with several different types of wash miniature that's ready to, you know, you can keep on going, add a few more highlights, get it to that tabletop standard, or you can be, hey, I'm good to go right here. Let me glue them down to a base and get them on the table right now. 3-color minimum. I'm good to go. So there you go. Making washes work for you is actually secretly easy if you have the right materials and you're selecting the right washes for the job. Of course, you can use the Airbrush Flow Improver, the Army Painter Quick Shade. You can use Future Floor Wax like I did for 10-15 years personally, but that'll give you coffee staining. I feel like the Flow Improver really gives you a consistent flow, a great looking miniature, no matter how much you use. And I showed you, you can go from a filter to a glaze to a wash and back again, and just work out of straight pots of gloss to get all those different effects. And I feel like it's very easy and very achievable, and with a little bit of layering to work those colors back up in certain areas, you can really have some standout miniatures, or just stop kind of like where we were, and hey, you got tabletop quality all day, every day. So I hope you enjoyed our video there. Make sure to work out those hobby muscles, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications to be the very first to like and comment on all these videos.
Deleted scenes, bonus content, and all the interviews and post-game wrap-up videos can be located in the Hall of Veterans on thelongwar.net. Visit thelongwar.net today and try a week completely free with no strings attached. That's not all. TheLongWar.net is also your hobby resource for exclusive early access with an ad-free experience to all your favorite videos. Members of the Hall of Veterans gain early exclusive access to multiple hobby videos,